what people have an interest in. If they have an interest in it, they're going to have an interest in the educational part of it.
Yeah.
So it's a starting point.
Yes, so Jill, what they did, just so you know right now in your mind, is that, so that they basically said, you know, what would you like us to do, Palm Beach County resident? But they didn't just leave it blank. They gave like 5 options to focus on.
Right.
And
Yes, that's
so
what
you
I'm
can type
thinking.
in,
Like,
yeah.
pick your top 3.
Yeah.
Or your top 2 that you really want us to focus on. Let us really do
Start
some work
small.
here.
Yeah, start
Right.
small, so it's
Yes.
not overwhelming, and just put
Yeah.
in a few topics,
Yeah.
and then let it grow.
Take a look at that, Jill, I think it'll.
I will. Is
it'll-
that in our,
It's an email
on our
from
old
Tom.
email?
Would that have been Gmail, or would that have been?
Because
I
the-
didn't get it, so it had to have been the new one.
Oh, it has to be the
Okay,
new one.
so
All right.
that means
Yes, it is.
I have a
the
hard
new-
time getting on the new.
Yeah, it's the new one.
Okay.
All right. I might have to come
Do
in
you
and
remember your
have.
passcode to get
I
in?
don't remember any of that. 5. Okay, so I'll come in and have them get me on it. Okay.
But I think this,
All right.
the next step here is let's put together a list of several things that we can edit and, you know, kind of have a dialogue over and figure out how we want to present that.
Now, 2 things to worry about. So, all right, so let's say we got it all done and it's got a nice ribbon on top of it, okay? We're ready to go.
Yeah.
Is the village gonna do this through their system? And if they say, no, we're not going to do it, what are we going to do?
Oh, you mean like help?
So they, you know, they have a system, they have their IT system that can send out to everybody that's signed up for whatever.
Yeah.
And they might say, no, we don't wanna do it. I don't think they would, but they might.
I know, I don't know why.
Can we
they
ask
don't.
that
Yeah.
question in advance?
Right.
Tell them kind of
Yeah.
what we're gonna do. We don't
Yeah.
have specifics yet.
Yeah.
Because they did the other survey for the communities through, for the community through the website and Spot.
I'd be shocked if they say no.
Yeah, I
It's a
know.
fairly
Yeah.
Yeah, I would-
simple request.
Jay, could you ask Jeremy, the other Jay, whether that is something that the village would do if we set it all up and then let us know?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, what form or what they need from us.
And forgive me if I missed this, but have you guys seen that there was the 2023 survey the village has already done that has some environmental questions in it?
Oh, no.
Okay, good
Thank
to
you.
know.
Okay.
So I'm looking at it right now. I'll
Okay.
send it out to the group, but
Okay.
it's village-wide questions, but
Okay.
there's a section about environmental questions.
Oh.
I'm sure you'll want to narrow it down more, but
Okay.
it's a good start.
Okay, is that on the website too?
It is on the website.
Okay. All right, thank you for that.
So, meanwhile, have you had any, I think you've been on vacation or something, but have you
I
had
was
any
gone.
comments with lead people in Florida?
They have totally ghosted me.
Oh, gosh.
So
Yeah.
I guess I need to try and
Well,
find
I'm
something
getting
else.
better to report of ghosting myself here later on.
Yeah. Yeah, they have totally, they won't answer my emails,
Tis
so,
the season.
yeah. Maybe I'll find another route, some other,
It could be
Someone
through
else.
that Palm Beach County.
yeah, go West Palm. Maybe I'll just
resiliency,
reach out to someone else
because that's
closer.
my next step for
Let's
mine
ask
too.
Linda if she knows.
Yeah.
Linda, what we're looking for, you know, you mentioned earlier that you're aware that we're looking at lead incentives. But what we'd like to do is have somebody from LEAD, whether it be Florida or Palm Beach County
Yeah.
or this nation, come and talk to us about
A
you
little
know,
guidance of,
you know, what is their experience as the best way to get those things implemented? Meanwhile,
I've got the same question Jill has. Do you want lead for cities, for the village of Tequesta, or do you want lead residential for individuals? Because
Well,
they are completely different.
I know.
so
I mean-
I'll chime in. I think we want residential because we are primarily residential. But we're also interested in commercial because we have a lot of older commercial buildings that might be
They're
retrofit.
Yeah, what are-
separate things.
Yeah, what our residents would like to see done in our village. I mean, it's their village, right? What do you want to get out of this? What do you want us to do?
Maybe we start with one category residential, and
And then move
instead of
towards.
trying, this is big.
It is big.
Just the incentive part of it is
Yeah,
huge,
yeah.
and I know that part's going to, so maybe we just narrow to one, either
Okay.
residential, commercial, maybe we decide that, and then expand on it after we've gone through and jumped that hurdle.
Do you have a suggestion, Linda, from your point of view of what is the best, where it is the best place to start? Which way?
Well, I had a couple of points or thoughts on this, and you guys are in charge. If the village of Tequesta became Lead for Cities certified, that is leading by example.
Mhm.
It also would promote LEED. The average resident doesn't know what LEED is. If you want someone for LEED for residential, that is often individual contractors and things like that. That could be something, maybe an RFP or something like that.
Yeah.
Somebody will come in and do 50 residences,
Mhm.
right?
I think our village then, I mean, like, I liked how you said, lead by example.
Mhm.
So maybe
That's-
focus on the village as a whole, Tom,
But what,
and
What does that
then,
mean, though?
what does it
Oh, to get
mean?
LEED certification for the
Yes.
Right.
municipality.
Like
Focus on that
Palm Beach
first.
County is LEED certified silver or gold. You know, they went through the process. The Office of Resiliency did the paperwork, you know, did the thing. Again, trying not to reinvent the wheel. If you talk to some of the other municipalities that have done, you know, LEED for cities, that sort of thing, they might be able to help you.
And Jeremy, you had
Chair, if I can just,
Yeah.
a minute. So I have a new planner here, and some of you weren't at the last meeting. I'm Jay Hupsch, I'm the new
Hi, Jay.
community development director. Nice to meet everybody. I also have a new planner here, Catherine Wagner.
Welcome.
I'm a little bit familiar with the Lead for Cities program, and I know the director of the USGDC for Florida that's been a big proponent of it.
oh, great.
And I've got Catherine here to do research, so we could put together a little bit of information for the next meeting so that you guys can have a little bit better feel for what that program means.
That would be great.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
think
So
we're,
Is that Jonathan Burgess?
it's Sarah Boren.
Okay, I was gonna send Jonathan's name, you said Sarah's, I'll send Jonathan.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would help to give us a little guidance.
Yeah,
We're
our
here,
scope is
we're
very
here to
big
do it, right?
now,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, I feel like,
We
Michelle,
need to
it's like
narrow
we're
in.
throwing stuff everywhere. We need to narrow down and focus on really what's gonna help
Mhm.
our village.
and like you said, that just struck home when Linda said lead by example.
Yes, that totally struck home too. Lead by example, and then once we have that for the village, then move on to the residential section, portion of that, yeah.
And I think in general, correct me if I'm wrong, but more people typically do LEED for commercial buildings or institutional buildings, not single-family homes. So it's probably best to start
Yeah.
citywide and on
And then
commercial
go
stuff
down.
versus
Yeah.
residential.
Okay.
Jay, let me ask you, that you may not know, so this certification, does it fall to being the village, or meaning the government? Or does one person inside the village hall hold the certification under their name?
It's the entire city. So the
Okay.
entire city does it. I don't know what all it entails, but I'm assuming you're looking at a lot of public works projects and open space and green space and things like that. So that's what we'll have to look at, kind of the parameters of the program, and we'll give a little brief presentation at the next meeting on that.
Thank you.
I
That's
think,
perfect.
and we'll also
Yeah,
let you know
that's
which kind of peer cities have done it, because I think at the last meeting I looked at, I believe Jupiter and the Colony has done it. Are you-
Oh, really?
I think they
I know
do.
Del Rey has, right?
That Jupiter has the colony name.
Jupiter and the Colony was on a list. Some of them, there's different levels, so they may have just done a low level one, but we'll give you guys an idea of who's done this.
We only have one building.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Jay, what was the other thing you mentioned earlier? I'm just writing on my notes when I do the agenda.
Oh, the survey.
The survey, yes, perfect, okay. Okay, anything else? Jill?
I think that's it. So we'll get that information. I'll still do a little bit of at least organizing my notes for when we move more towards the residential. But I agree that it really hit a chord when we said, let's lead by example.
Yeah.
And then Michelle and I can figure out, things to do after we get some of that lead information.
Yes. That's
Sorry.
Yes, that's okay, yeah.
While you're doing the lead by example, I would suggest you continually put it in the smoke signals and all that.
Yeah.
Because that's how you educate the residents is,
Little,
so 2
Yeah.
years from now or 3 years, when you go to them, they're not going,
what do you
never
need?
heard of this
Yeah,
before.
yeah. So just little blurps in smoke signals. Okay,
Yeah,
All right.
and we're gonna talk about that under new business too.
okay.
So let's now move to the lead incentives matter that Michelle has been researching. Michelle, you gave a good report last month. Do you have anything you want to add today?
Not, I'm still continuing to look at, continue the incentives for both residential and business. And so I've got a meeting set up with Jay on October 17th to just kind of go through and see what looks feasible to the village from the ones that already exist. And I also emailed Patrick Painter, he's a council member, and he also works for Hedrick Brothers, and to see if he could get us some contact information for that eco center, and he's going to talk to Dale Hedrick and work on that. I think Dale's out of town. And that's it for right now. So I'm looking forward to meeting with Jay, and now that I feel like too, we've just, our scope has, it's an educational process for us, so it's very wide and it's a little anxiety, and now we're getting somewhere where we've got some resources and we can start determining what our actual scope on this is going to be.
You're absolutely right. Any questions for Michelle? Okay, Brad, you're up. Potential greenhouse gas reduction grants research.
I bit off a lot. So I had a handful the last meeting I called in. I've identified almost 130 that have an environmental focus and are municipalities are eligible for. I sent 2 that had not expired, or their due date had not expired, to Jeremy, and I think he forwarded to you.
Just a little too late for us.
Yeah,
It looks like good ones.
it's hard to put together a good response to a grant in a couple weeks, I think it was. But those are the ones that were valid still. A lot of them have passed, well, they all have passed. Those are the only 2 I could find.
Really, the 30 out of the 30, the only 2?
130. I haven't
130.
gone through that
Oh,
entire
okay.
130. It takes some time, but I mean,
They don't just list them by due date?
no, unfortunately, I haven't found that website yet. So I got to hunt and peck through to find the actual RFP.
What's your primary website? Is it grants.gov or something like that?
I've gone there. The National League of Cities has a nice website with regard to municipal grants. State of Florida.
Yeah.
A lot of these federal grants are funding state of Florida programs or state programs
Right.
around the U.S.
Yeah.
I do have a few questions. I don't know, maybe Jay can answer. Because there are some criteria that I was not certain on that would be helpful to know as I comb through these grants.
Go ahead.
I believe that we do belong to the League of Cities, the Florida League of Cities. Do we belong to their national?
I don't know about that. Is it over here?
I don't.
I don't know about national, but definitely.
Definitely
cities.
Florida?
Yeah.
Okay. And what is our population characteristic? Because we're kind of in the middle. The number would be great, but there's urban and rural
Oh.
type of grants.
Well, it's like 6,200, right,
Yeah,
Jason?
it's about-
64.
Yeah. We'd be considered urban, I think, just because we're in Palm Beach County.
density.
Yeah,
Yeah.
density, yeah, it's actually fairly dense for Florida, 2 square miles, like 3,000 per square mile. So yeah, it would be rural.
Okay, okay. And then, this one I think I know the answer, but a lot of them require to be eligible, it has to go towards underserved communities. I don't.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I don't know if we would qualify for that.
not typically.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Underserved.
I don't think we even have a pocket of an underserved area either. You know, some cities have,
A little
or
bit,
affluent
yeah.
would have a little pocket that
Right.
they can, I don't know that we even have that either.
Well, we did, when I was manager, we did. It was off of Seabrook on the extreme south end of Tequesta, adjacent to the Dover Ditch. So we're talking about portions of Dover Road and Dover Circle. And because of that status, we were able to get community development block grants to do improvements to the stormwater drainage system that would routinely flood their homes. So I don't think that's true today. I think it's long gone. But
It's-
it was back then, but maybe it still is. I don't know. I haven't looked at it.
Is Cypress considered underserved, the condo area, that high density
South
along?
of Tequesta Drive?
I think both, go in both directions.
I don't.
The townhouses and those,
There's apartments.
yeah, the apartments.
Hmm.
I mean, we do have areas that are, just a thought,
I'll ask the village manager, he'd be more familiar.
okay.
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 Anything else?
Yeah, so this is a lot. I know that you had an interest in it. Are you doing anything with regard to grants now?
I mean, I've only been here a month, I'm still trying to figure out, you know, kind of what the role is of village manager, but we can, I think we're able to take on some grants.
Okay.
You know, if needed, so.
I just didn't want to do double duty if someone, if yourself or whomever was already doing something like this.
I mean, it's not like the focus of my job.
Yeah.
You know, but, as far as like looking for them, but we can certainly,
Because once I do come up with my final list, I'm going to have as much information in there as possible, and then I just hand it off to you, or?
Yeah, and I think it sounds like because a lot of the things are for the future, it'd be good to have that list and then start targeting next year's ones.
Yes.
And then we probably don't have the capacity as a staff to go after all of them, but what we could do is probably talk to a grant writer, and a lot of grant writers will work for like a commission, or, you know, so I could, if you've got enough grants, it might be enough to bring in a grant writer on staff on, you know, contract basis.
Yeah.
So we could talk to the manager about that, and the council as well.
Okay.
Like a lot of cities, so I came from North Palm Beach, and we had a full-time, well, not full-time, we had a contract grant writer that took care of all of our grant writing. And so we would feed him grants sometimes and work with him, but he was the one taking care of most of it.
Yeah.
And he actually lives in Jupiter, so.
My memory on this subject is, and remember Jay is new, the Jeremy Allen, on behalf of the village, had 2 grant writers under contract, okay? And he, you know, my recollection, he can use them as needed. He may, depending on the cost, he may have to go to council to approve the dollar amount for the grant that's being pursued. But it might be good for you to learn who is, at least the one he uses the most, and have a telephone conversation with that person and say, hey, you know, there's this list of thousands of grants for, you know, environmentally related, greenhouse gas reduction related. What sort of things do you, Mr. or Mrs. Grant Writer, think I need to know as I go through all this to help make it happen? You know what I'm saying?
What does that mean, to
Well,
make it happen?
to be on the lookout for data or information in the grant that would indicate that Tequesta has a fairly good chance to get an award. You know, criteria that they're aware of in that particular field, of endeavor that would be good to have in order to be a higher probability of a recipient of a grant. Now, sometimes you can probably read it and say, okay, we don't qualify because
That's what I've been doing, yeah.
we have average income of, I don't know, 75,000, and it's only doing people with 30 and under. I mean, something like that.
Yeah, that's, yeah, I'm kind of excluding what I do find based on things I already know, but you're right. And interesting, a lot of these grant programs, they have on their website similar things that you had just mentioned. You know, they have successful grants that were written in years past. They have tips on how to respond to the grant. So a lot of, well, not a lot, some of them do come with a bit of education.
I would think one of the most important things to know from one or more of the grant writers is how much advance notice is ideal for you. You know, in other words, I find something, Village likes it, EAC may like it, I like it, it's Brad, and how much time do you think you need for something like that? What's the ideal time for you to turn something around like that, based on what you may or may not know about the typical environmental type grant?
I can only speak from experience. It just depends on what information is currently available versus what information has to be discovered with regard to, probably with regard to the village.
Yeah.
And then that information gets to him or her. I don't, but no, it's a fair question. You know, what's your typical turnaround time? But I do know that it's highly dependent on what details and data need to be included in that grant,
right.
And is that stuff available right now versus we have to go out and crunch some numbers and
yeah, I don't know. It's been so long since I did one, but you know, it's like demographics, who your primary beneficiaries of this thing, and you know, it goes on and on and on and on. Yeah, it would be hard for them to say, but they might say something like, typically, ideally, I need 30 days, something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
And if this is a contract grant writer or responder, well, I can't assume, but I would hope that that person has already done some grant writing for other municipalities and sort of kind of knows
the lay of the land.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I'm pretty sure one of them had a lot of municipal grant writing experience. I can't remember. It was a female. I don't remember her name. I think she actually lived in Turtle Creek.
Okay.
So that would be helpful.
Yeah. Okay. No, this. I'll get with Jeremy. Try to find out who it is.
I have someone also that lives in Heritage Oaks, Cindy McDonald. She's a big volunteer. She does a lot of work for the village.
Like in writing grants?
And I know she does do grant writing. I don't know if she's written for the village yet, but.
Sydney McDonald?
Yep. Hold on. Let me find her number. And it's CYNDI. 561 371 2819.
I can tell her I know you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just say Jill. Jill, give me your number.
But I believe that's it.
And if she doesn't, Brad, she'll have contacts for you to.
Yeah. Okay.
Marge,
Hello.
got tired of the training, huh?
Yeah, I think that's it.
I was listening.
Did you want to say something?
Is
We
it
have her
okay?
in person and on the Zoom.
Yeah, we see your name on the Zoom.
Yeah, I'm still on it. I was just ran in here. I was like, Marjorie Craig, Utilities Director. So Cindy McDonald, I believe, is one of the people that's on contract, but, and I think they've used her a little bit, and I I don't know the level of her expertise. What I was told was she was still learning, but I don't know if that's
okay.
accurate or not. That could be completely inaccurate. As you know, I've not been here all that long. But the other person is Andrea Holt, who's extremely experienced
Okay.
and knows. But the thing with grants is, just keep in mind, it still takes a lot of time by village staff, because you still have to gather the information. Because no matter how good Andrea is or Cindy might be, you still have to gather all the information. You have to. There's still a lot of work, and I've been doing grants for a long time.
Okay.
And it is, you know, you want to be very, you want to make sure that what you're applying for is going to be something that's going to be worth the effort that you're putting in.
Yeah.
Because I've worked with different grant writers. I was thrilled to hear that Andrea was on board, because I worked with her previously.
Great.
And she's very good at getting grants.
Do you have her contact information for Brad?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I'll send it to Tom and he can distribute it, or
That's
I don't
fine.
have it memorized. Sadly, I don't have it
Okay.
memorized. But
Great, thanks for bringing that to our attention.
I do have a question.
sure.
So, you know, there's all sorts of different types of grants. The ones that I'm focusing on are environmental, you know, slant to them, basically. Money for resilience, climate change, greenhouse gas reduction, blah, blah, you know, all of the big environmental focus areas. If, say, we send out, you know, 10 grant responses, wouldn't most of those, if they were all kind of in that same subcategory of greenhouse gas reduction, we'll say that, a lot of the data in those grant responses are going to be similar, if not the same. Do you find that in your experience?
I find them all to be different.
Yeah.
The format they want it, the form they're using. Most of these grants that we've have, and I've had many different grants through the years. The village has been very active in pursuing grants. We currently have a resilience grant to conduct a vulnerability assessment for stormwater, primarily stormwater, inundation, sea level rise. And also, when I got here, we had it's got another long, you know how we like acronyms and
Oh, yeah.
utilities. And it's for a bioswale that we put in. The cost of the bioswale is about 3 times as much as putting in a regular swale, and it's definitely worth it, because you've got you've got a little bit extra treatment, but it also it was no small feat, and that was a simple grant, and it's still, there's special forms, agreements, everything has to be brought to council, every agreement, you know, you can see, and then the reimbursement requests, and it's and you want to make sure that you're not just, you know, applying for things that you have no chance of getting. Although repetitive applications can be effective over time. One of the best things that we can do is be on the county's list of grants. So for the greenhouse gases, that's like an LMS list. Jeremy, you may have some knowledge about the county's LMS list. And that's an acronym, and I can get you what it stands for and everything.
Local mitigation strategy.
That's it. That's
But
what it is.
That's the list you're talking about being on it for Palm Beach?
That's one of them, yeah.
Okay.
That's one thing. So Public Works is using Andrea to put together some projects to get on that list, and we will be doing that as well. And that is a list that we can, you know, we have projects ready to go, but we tend to be, you know, 40 or 50 down on the list just because of the demographics of the village itself. So if it's a income-based, we're not a, you know, that can't be one of the criteria if we apply for one.
Yeah, Margie's right, but.
Doesn't mean we shouldn't apply.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying.
Stick-to-itiveness does often pay off.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, in theory, there's always more projects coming in annually, but, you know, as they take them from the top and pay them off, you can rise depending on
You
how
can
many are
rise.
coming in the door for the new ones. But to give you an example of a very odd thing, when I was the manager of Palm Beach, we applied through the LMS for a FEMA grant for underground utilities. Now, everybody thinking, okay, billionaires are not gonna get grant money, right? We got
Sometimes.
$8.5 million for one entire section of town. So it can happen.
It can happen, and I'm not, again, I'm not saying we shouldn't apply, that's not what I'm saying, I'm just saying, just keep it in mind. The other thing is, we do have a lobbyist, and so that, that's an important part of efforts for some grants.
Can we segue for a moment off of the agenda, because I'm fearful that Marge is gonna go back to
I am, I'm
whatever
gonna go.
online training. I wanna get her, I had a question that I wrote down while I was at home for Margie, and now she's here, so I'm gonna try to grab it.
Because I'm gonna target you, right?
So, the last thing that I remember relative to the vulnerability assessment was around the end of summer, somewhere. It was the last day of your intern, I think, or that week.
Melanie, yes.
Yeah. So, all right, so you had, but it was in draft form, I think. And so you probably crossed the Ts and dotted the Is after that last meeting, and probably it's done now. But the next stage, and I think it's eligible for grants, is like you mentioned resiliency part, but I call it like the mitigation plan based on what's identified in the vulnerability assessment.
Exactly.
Are we seeking a grant to go to step 2?
So the step we're in at is the 100% funding of the vulnerability assessment. I also applied for, on behalf of the village, for additional grant money for to gather some additional data to put in the GIS system. We identified some data gaps. So what you're probably remembering is Melanie did do a presentation on the status of the vulnerability assessment, and she was also involved in the public meeting that we held and you attended. And so that was to gather any public input on what we were doing. And what we've done now is we've identified, we went through the data gathering, we've gone through some of the GIS work, and then we found some data gaps, we've applied for additional funding, and then we want to put together, the resultant deliverable is going to be a list of projects. And then based on that, then we will be eligible to get 50% funding for those projects. So some of those I see going on the LMS list as well, but we'll still have to match those projects with 50% funding. And so right now, so I have water and stormwater utilities, and the stormwater rate is pretty low right now in order, as for what can be done on an annual basis. We can do maintenance. Right now, we're focusing on lining pipes and restoring swales. That's going to be very important. And you probably know, driving around, a lot of the swales that used to be
Concave.
are flat.
Are flat.
So they're just sheet flow. But it's going to be important that we restore some of those if we want to really address moving some of that water through the village.
Right. So, all right, so you're working on the next step. The other thing, segueing back to Brad and greenhouse gas research, you mentioned earlier, like, I think it was relative to the LMS list. You say, Public Works has some projects, water or stormwater has some projects. So would you think that if and when we come up through Brad with a list of eligible, viable environmental GHG grant application processes, do you think that we should put that under the umbrella of environmental, or do we go in via public works heading, or do we go in via stormwater heading? You see what I'm saying? So you have, the village,
Yeah,
according to
so
what you said, was public works, water, storm. Well, would environmental just fit under those categories, or should we go in the door for environmental?
If you're only looking at greenhouse gas and reduction of greenhouse gas in the village, it could fit in many different places. It could fit in planning, it could fit in public works, because a lot of that might be related to buildings, or it could be, you know, planning because of new ordinances or things like that. Or it could be it really could fit a lot of different places. Whether it could go on the LMS list, I'd have to find out for you. I could posit, you know, what I think, and I know, like Delray has put together a greenhouse gas effort. Right now, I don't know what particular grants might be eligible, but I know Andrea probably, and probably Cindy, you know, they probably live and breathe that stuff.
Okay. Brad, did you have anything else, or are there any questions for Brad from other members? Where was I going to ask? Mary Ann, in case you missed it, Jessica arrived at about 2:45 p.m.
Hi.
Okay, so what's next on the agenda here?
Thank you, Marjorie.
But I was on Zoom the whole time.
Communication with the Loxahatchee River Environmental Advisory Committee. I'm sorry, Loxahatchee River Environmental Control District for GHG reductions. Okay, so you may remember that I wrote an email, or 2 emails, to the executive director of the Loxahatchee River District, which is the sewer utility, the sanitary sewer utility, because they are a large portion of the village of Tequesta governmental greenhouse gas inventory, is why I wrote to him. The other biggie, of course, is the water department, in terms of energy consumption. So he told me, ultimately, after going...
He was not enthusiastic.
He wasn't
about it.
enthusiastic,
Yeah.
but you know, he's an alleged environmental guy. But he said he'd get back to me the week of September 11th. Zilch. Nothing. So, you know, he's ghosting us, and the question I've had is like, you know, who could have told him that he could ignore this? How can we make there be consequences for him ignoring it? I mean, if you're an executive director of a governmental agency in Palm Beach County and somebody is trying to do greenhouse gas reductions and has told you how to get grants and where those grants are, and you ignore it, don't you think that you might think that you are going to be subject to ridicule if that happens? Yet he ghosted me. So, you know, I don't know, we can all think about what we might want to do, or maybe it's beyond our realm, but that's a big chunk of the greenhouse gas inventory generated by the village of Tequesta, because a portion of their energy consumption over at the sewer plant in Jupiter is attributable to our population, and that was like close to, I don't know, maybe 40% of all the, I'm faking it, don't hold me to that, 40% of all the greenhouse gases generated by the village of Tequesta. So any comments on being ghosted?
Make an appointment.
One got
Call
ghosted
up and
too.
make an
You'd probably say,
appointment.
well, Tom, it happened, our children do it to me all the time, you know.
Yeah.
Just make an appointment with them and go face to face.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I would do.
I
People are busy, they forget.
I could send
Can't
him,
ignore
hey, I write him an email and say, hey, didn't hear from you, where are you, what are you doing?
it. I mean, I'd
That
call up, make
starts
an
step
appointment.
number 1. You know,
Yeah.
I have to watch what I want to say, because I shouldn't say what I want to say, but I think I'll respond to him and just say, hey, what are you doing about this? And I'll copy all of you and see if we get a response.
What's his name, Tom?
Aubrey Arlington,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that? Does it sound right?
Arlington?
No, Arrington, or Arrington, Arrington, right?
Yeah, maybe all, how do you say that first name?
Aubrey.
Aubrey Arrington? I think Jessica's right.
Arrington?
Where's mine? Okay, so that's that unless you have questions. Shoreline protection actions, Russ Redmond, have you heard, you said earlier you hadn't heard anything from Jupiter's. Anything you want to
No,
add?
yeah, I didn't even think to look at what they were doing, because I remembered that they had done something or were working on it, but I didn't think to look at what was going on. I've just been looking at the, for the council meetings, the agendas and stuff, and I haven't seen anything come up other, I mean, there's been environmental stuff, but nothing shoreline specific. Anything?
So I'm going to a class, it's a 2-day class in Stewart, October 25th and 26th. It's all about living shorelines and how to create them. So I'm hoping to learn some stuff there. I'll report back at the November meeting on that as well. And then I know that the village manager wants us to start drafting a living shorelines ordinance, copy what Jupiter's done. So after I go to that class, report back here, we can start working off of that, what I learned there, and then take some of the Jupiter stuff and make an ordinance. And I know there are environmental people over there, so I can talk to Barrett, their environmental guy, and figure out what they've done and learn about Sawfish Bay. I'll even see if he can come out here and talk to us about it.
That was good news, I think,
Yeah.
all around, but I think you also said in that, what you just said was that Jupiter adopted their ordinance already.
I think they have. I know they've been working on one. I'm not sure if they have or not, so I'll
Okay, I won't hold you to
That'll
that.
be
Jessica,
big.
was somebody raised yes?
Yeah, I was just curious where the class was being held.
It's somewhere in Stewart. I think it's $80. So if anyone's interested,
Well, I've taken one. I wasn't sure if it was like the Indian River Lagoon, if there was the.
I think it's being put on by UF or a group of some environmental groups up there, and then either
The Oceanographic Center, or I just wasn't sure, because it is definitely. I'm excited that you are going to learn about it, because I've grown up on the river here and on the water and didn't know why it was so important, even just like in terms of seagrass migration and light, being able. Anyway, it's very interesting, so I'm excited for you to learn about it. It's something I've really been hoping that we push for in the village, because it's what's going to maintain the fishing and the water and everything that draws people to this area. And it's just going to be very important, so thank you.
Russ, you think they're talking about the class or training session we talked about a month ago, or is this something different that Jay may have brought up? Both Jays, the Jay.
Jeremy reminded us of. I'm guessing this is one that Jeremy told us about, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Mine was free. I didn't have to pay to attend the one that I went to. This was hosted by the Oceanographic. It was through one of the IRL speaker presentations, that was, you had to sign up for it.
I guess there's all kind of training going on this subject out there now.
Have you seen the restoration project at Lighthouse, the shoreline?
That's exactly.
It's gorgeous.
We learned about that. That's exactly the one that I was going to say, the only shoreline restoration. And really, we could reach out to them because.
That's Jupiter.
Yeah, the Lighthouse, they've done, and I was asking about what they're going to be doing on the intercoastal side in terms of,
The cliff.
and how they're going to prevent the boaters or block the boaters, so, the shoreline management.
They did a bunch of survey, didn't they do like a big survey thing, and like I remember we all responded to it, and.
Yeah, well, and it's BLM, I think it's complicated just because it involves multiple agencies, and they had to have different public hearings and things like that, so,
So they never formalized a plan as far as
well,
you
they
know?
have. No, they have now, but it hasn't started on the intercoastal side. They have, it's begun or it's finished on the
Do you know which
rivers.
of there were like several options, do you know which of the options they're going with?
They did riprap and mangroves.
Okay, so they're not doing the pier.
No.
They had like a
Well,
little
are you
pier.
talking about on the intercoastal?
Yeah,
I-
they had like a little pier, that was one of the options, I remember.
I do remember them talking about walking along the water, but I'm not sure.
But the existing one that they've finished on the south side in the
channel there. It's beautiful.
You know-
It's really done very nice, and it's teeming with fish.
My
Well-
recollection is they sidestepped on the, let's call it the intercoastal section.
No, they've had to revisit, and I almost want to say there is, and the reason there might be, because I had been looking, it's difficult to find a solution that's going to actually prevent boaters. So down south they are doing something, for example, where they are securing pre-grown mangroves with rebar into rock. So obviously that's going to cause a stir with some people, but in the long run, is that better? You know, because you've created a mangrove shoreline, but yeah, you've got a rebar into the seabed. You know, so it's a kind of a given. It's a win, you know, lose-lose, win-win, whatever. So I think that they might have had to create something for people to walk along that also might prevent. But don't quote me on that, because I do remember, like what you're saying, the different options. I just know that they've done shoreline restoration and have it underway, and think that we could reach out to them for that, for some resources, or just to follow and see what they've done.
They should do whatever's necessary and then put signs pointing to Tech Lake is this way, so they go up there instead of
I know.
eroding the soil.
We need it to be pretty up there too.
So Russ, anything else about that subject you want to touch on?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything, so I got nothing.
Okay. Perchlorates, I'm just gonna assume if you found something or you heard some horrible legislation or good legislation, you'd let us know, so I haven't
It's
heard.
not.
Yeah. Increased recycling, Tequesta facilities, clay. So any updates for you from last month?
Only that I'm in the process of working on. What I gathered was we need to get a volunteer before even bothering reaching out to solid waste to get receptacles. So I've already reached out to my old school. I do need to still reach out to Jupiter High School to see if I can get on their radar to try and get a volunteer. But at the moment, no, we don't have a volunteer to do it. Once I get a volunteer that would consistently show up once a week, I think then the next move would be get the receptacles.
I could get you contact for the Environmental Academy at Jupiter.
Okay.
So those would be the students who'd be most likely to,
Yeah,
they can make a
absolutely.
project. And they all have to have like a senior
Yeah,
project.
choose your, yeah, okay, that's
And it can be
perfect.
like one that sort of gets replaced by a new student every year, because
Yeah, that's perfect. I just went to my school because I had an alumni director plug me into the right person there, so
Okay.
the Jupiter, that'd be perfect.
This kind of, I've been taking notes as I didn't have a chance to add, so that could be a great website suggestion. I just was going to follow up in the new business about food trucks kind of, and I think there could be like a kids corner or volunteer opportunities. I was going to ask if we can even give community service hours, because having opportunities like that on the website for students to
For sure, because what we were told is any of these receptacles that we would add somewhere, it's our obligation to find somebody to service them.
Right, well, there's a way of doing that. We have
Yeah.
those sign-up geniuses with us class moms,
Yeah.
and we end up pulling off,
So-
crazy productions. Kids can
So are
do
you,
a lot.
Clay, are you saying that we need a volunteer? If we convince the village to put an array of recyclable receptacles clearly visible in, say, Constitution Park and/or the upcoming Remembrance Park, are you saying that we need a volunteer to pick up those? Or
We
are you
need a
saying-
volunteer to essentially bring those receptacles to a pickup location that solid waste will then service. But solid waste will not go into each receptacle, bring it, because that's literally what happens at Tequesta Park. So at Tequesta Park, Jeremy has a volunteer show up there once a week. That person collects all the receptacles, because there's 2 at the baseball field, 1 over here at the basketball court, 1 here. That person has to bring those receptacles to a agreed upon pickup location.
That's strange.
Which is right out in front.
I mean, somebody's.
Does he get to use the cart or no? I'm
But
teasing,
that
I'm
person
teasing.
is bringing those receptacles to a agreed upon pickup location. Solid waste is emptying those, and then that volunteer has to, put them back to wherever their
It's
locations
that they have to bring them
are.
to the curb.
Which
Essentially, I
all
think.
of which makes
Truck
you
won't go in.
conclude, why bother?
Yeah, I mean, it's wild to think that, you know, we can't
Right.
get solid waste to just service the receptacles. But, I mean, it is what it is,
Or
so
we can't-
I don't think
we
it's
can't get around that.
impossible to get the volunteer, but we gotta get the volunteers before even bothering getting the receptacles.
Okay, you gave a good summary, but at Constitution Park today, Jeremy Allen has already said that the village employee
That's a volunteer.
segregates the recycling, but I'm not sure what he said they do with it. But are you saying that your understanding is at Constitution Park, just using it as an example, an employee has to take the recycling to some spot
Yes.
for them, meaning not SWA, Waste Management, to pick it up?
I don't believe there's currently any recycling, well, there is no recycling at Constitution Park, so I think just right now, trash is being picked up, and then whatever happens at, you know, facility in terms of sorting takes care of it. But there is not a recycling receptacle at Constitution Park currently. I believe the trash receptacles that are there, they're just getting picked up naturally, you know, by whatever agreement they have. I do not believe a volunteer is going there, unloading each receptacle. That's getting done already by solid waste and or waste management.
Do we?
But yeah, my understanding is that the only working one that's in existence is Tequesta Park, and a volunteer goes to each receptacle, brings the receptacles to a agreed location, they get picked up, then
Okay.
that person goes back out and redistributes the receptacles.
Just let me, Jill, I know you want to
Okay.
speak up, but I want to follow up. Just, I want to make sure you remember that Tequesta Park is in Martin County. Okay, so that means that Tequesta's waste management contract for what goes on in Tequesta is inapplicable in Tequesta Park. Okay? Unless the village's contract has some special verbiage in there about what they will do in Tequesta Park, but that's not known by me.
Yeah.
So, and then I believe that the similar description that, about, you know, somebody's gotta say, you know, get it, take it to a place. I think that happens in Coral Cove Park, which is a county park located in Tequesta. Okay, so the only one that's really normal, so to speak, is Constitution Park, because it is a Tequesta facility in Tequesta.
Yeah.
Okay, Jill?
Didn't you bring up before that Waste Management was moving towards just everything going in the garbage bag, garbage can, and they recycle at the facility at some point?
That's true for you and me, our residential homes. I don't know
Okay.
about what it means for commercial, et cetera.
When is it gonna be implemented for residential?
Probably,
Do they say?
well, I think Jupiter is still in the process of implementing this town-wide in their jurisdiction. I don't know, I know we're next, but I don't know when.
And so, and even though it's just residential, I'm assuming at some point it's gonna hit towards the commercial end, so it would
I
be
don't
good
know.
to find out maybe when, because if that's how they're doing it, and waiting till it's at the facility, then this is all a mute.
Well, as
Subject.
Jessica will learn or
Yeah.
is about ready to report,
Yeah.
unless the owner of a commercial facility does something, like creates receptacles and/or pays Waste Management to empty those receptacles, that would mean, absent that, there is zero recycling in a commercial building,
Wow.
right? Okay.
Wow. So, and they have nothing in the works to do what they're doing for residential? Just separating it all at the facility?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I was just curious about that.
I'm now free from all of that, I don't have to worry about it every day. So,
All right.
I thought, now this could
'Cause
be on
that's a
me,
lot of work.
Clay, I thought you did come to the last meeting and you said you did see that Tequesta did have the facilities for putting, you know, plastic.
Yep, they got blue and yellow bin.
I remember that, but I thought somewhere along the line that you had said you saw that, I thought that you felt like they had a place to put recyclables at Constitution Park, but we learned that they're not segregated or something to that effect.
No.
That's not your
To,
okay.
to my knowledge, Constitution Park has 0. When I walk around the entire inners of Constitution Park, there are several barrels, but they're just all-purpose barrels.
Like, there's no recycling at food trucks.
None.
Why?
I haven't seen.
Well, okay, so let's assume there's none.
Right.
That's one that we don't have variables about. One's in the county and one is in Martin County. Why don't we focus on Constitution Park for starters? We
Yes.
own it.
It's a great idea.
It's under
It's
our.
the most
contract.
attended.
Yeah, and
I
right.
mean, I
Why
feel
don't
like
we
that.
focus on that? And so Clay's research shows there's nothing there to clearly tell you to put your recycling in this place. So why don't we come up with a suggested receptacle thing or things that they would put somewhere that's clearly visible but not an impediment to people going to the park?
Yeah, of course, and that's where I was saying that I think getting the receptacles, the easier part. The harder part is getting the consistent person to always come in. So as soon as that piece of the puzzle is sure, we've got 5 kids where, I'm going to reach out to Russ to get that committee perfect.
But let me say this.
Okay.
Tell me if you disagree. I thought Jeremy said that today the trash and recycling is put in one receptacle.
Correct.
Okay. Then his employee, on a regular basis, separates it and then does whatever they do with it after separation. If that's true.
I didn't think that part
Okay,
was
but
true.
let's say it was true.
Okay.
Then you wouldn't need a volunteer.
No, you wouldn't.
Right.
But if that was true, then it's already happening.
Right, so why a receptacle?
Well, that's why I thought Constitution Park had something.
Yeah, no, I do not think that somebody is currently emptying the barrels at Constitution Park and sorting trash from recycling. I do not believe that is currently happening. Perhaps I'm wrong, but I don't think that
I'm
that's
sure
what's
they
there.
would like a reciprocal,
Can-
it being
Can
separated.
you
Yeah.
find out through Jay
Yeah.
or someone what the story is at Constitution Park? Because we want to get it right, Jay, and then, so let's say, Jay, so let's say there's nothing going on there now. Well, then we would probably recommend,
Let's put
receptacles
three
and-
receptacles in, and we have these people that are going to service them.
right, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
You follow that? Okay. All right. Anything else about recycling? Anybody? Well, Jessica, do you have any bad news for us relative to commercial facilities?
No, I have no new news in this department yet for us. This has been, I will report shortly on the things that we have had that I did have going on this month for us, but I have not even reached out yet to find out if any of these plaza owners are interested in pursuing this.
You
So-
know, what I would suggest you do, and you can ignore me if you want to.
No.
So number one, I would ask the village for a copy of its most recent contract with Waste Management. Okay, then you would be able to see what you can do relative to recycling in commercial areas, which is probably nothing, okay? And then, so let's say you start there, and then you kind of figure out, I guess you're gonna have to figure out on your own then, okay, so if Mr. or Mrs. Commercial Property Owner wants recycling, what would have to take place? What would Waste Management make them do and pay for?
Because I'm sure it would probably be different for each plaza.
Right, it could be, yeah.
So I'd probably try to figure that out before I'm talking to
Yeah,
somebody.
basically it comes down to how many recycling receptacles they put on the given property.
Well, and like somewhere, on US 1, like where Home Goods is, I mean, there might be multiple on a plaza that size versus
Yeah.
over here.
So I think what you're gonna discover is that recycling service is mandatory for all of us at our homes, okay? It's there. If you don't recycle, you don't have to recycle, but if you're still paying for it, whether you want it or not, you understand what I mean when I say that? Then, so the question is, if it's optional for commercial, why is that?
There's a cost incurred.
Yeah, it's probably the cost, but what's the cost of not doing it?
Are they doing it at the facility?
Yeah, they do have the option of hauling it, say, to that thing off of Donald Ross Road in Jupiter, I forgot the name of it.
Transfer station.
Transfer state, yeah, that's it. So anyway, those are my thoughts, Jessica. And I think that's it. There's not, green infrastructure is not assigned, but we know Margie's working on the bioswales, for example. Green buildings is C lead above. So let's move on now to new business. So I put this on the agenda on a whim, and let me read it. Development of a consistent way to inform Tequesta citizens on the importance of environmental protection and enhancement using smoke signals and other Village of Tequesta media platforms. So this, I put it on here because, you know, every now and then Laurie McWilliams will send us all an email and say, hey, it's time for articles for smoke signals, please turn them in, whatever, you know, whatever she said. But, you know, Tom might think Jessica's going to send something in. Jessica might think Clay's sending something in, and so nothing ever gets sent in. In other words, we don't have any, and I'm not, we don't have a point person on our committee that says and is working on gathering stuff on a regular basis that can be either added to our website, be downloaded by residents, and or included in the website, Instagram, Facebook, next door. There's nothing coming from us. I mean, you know, I'm busy, Jill's busy, we're all busy, but meanwhile, the people aren't finding out what we're doing and what we can do and what we're not informing, we're not educating, we're just kind of letting it slide. That's why I put it on here. So what, I don't know if you agree that we ought to have some kind of a setup. The question is, what would such a setup entail? Anybody want to throw your thoughts out there about this?
So, the environmental page that we have, I mean, I know that these meetings are recorded and they're downloadable on the village website.
Yep.
Can we link it to that? When you say, you know, let people know what we're doing, this is probably one of the best ways, you know, to see this. Now, it's not easily digestible, and who's going to sit for 2 hours and...
Right.
But
Listen.
You're talking about YouTube now, right? Are you talking about YouTube? Like, for example, this is being recorded.
and then it'll be published.
Right.
Linked to that.
Yeah.
As a baseline, maybe. And then have something a little more palatable to, you know, quick hits, bullets, whatever.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but we live in such a short attention span era where I think the communication that we have on a monthly basis, it needs to be in very short blurb form.
Short and sweet, yeah.
Yeah.
Keep their attention.
You know, whether it's quick facts, updates on this, that, and the other, but yeah.
Fast, one line and here's a link to get to more.
Yep, or, you know, a small section of the smoke signal has to be, you know, the monthly environmental
3 or
tip
4 sentences,
or
yeah.
whatever it might
Yeah.
be, or,
But the other question is, okay, so let's say we identify YouTube links, we do this, we do that. Who's the V? Who's the person?
Agreed.
And let me tell you what my problem is. I see tons of environmental related matters, and I am very cautious about sending them to you all because I don't want to overwhelm you with, you know, articles to be read, and you're probably reading some of them on your own anyway. But the problem I have is when I see it, I can say to myself, you know, many times, that's a good idea. That's a good one for people to know about. But then it's copyright. It's copywritten. And then, you know, what am I supposed to do? Take an hour of my day and write it up in my own words so I don't violate any copyright law? That's a major time killer. It's okay to send you guys a link or send you the article, but when we're putting it out to the whole world, I can't just say, here's a copy, you know, how did you, like for example, there is a great, and I mean it's one of the best I've ever seen, from ARP magazine, yes, I get ARP magazine. It showed over 30 ways of where to recycle different things that we have in our lives, okay? It was really great. And so I sent it to Laurie a couple of times, and she said, Tom, it's copyright. You can't, if ARP says you can do it, then we'll do it. So I said, okay. So I said, I went online, aarp.com or .gov or whatever it was, and I put in the seeking permission for the use of their copywritten materials. They never respond. Another ghosting. I've done it twice.
So huge.
So, you know, it's a time killer is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a time killer. But it's one of the best ones I've ever. It tells you where to take a watch, your cell phone, It was beautiful. And I know that Laurie felt the same way, but it's copywritten. So that's a problem I run into. I don't mind sending things to you because it's not published. But what do we do?
So, let me get, so this article, it was on their website, right?
It was in their, this particular article was in their,
Print magazine.
it was like a newsletter that comes out in magazine format every 2 months.
Do they have a digital format? That you know of?
Yeah, I did get, I found it digitally, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And would it still infringe on copyright if you were to link,
Yes.
to put a link like in Instagram or, I don't know, Facebook or whatever?
That makes sense to do that.
Link it to that and say, just give a little summary. This is
That's
about
article.
blah, blah, blah.
You know, source AARP.
Yeah.
That's a good
Want to know
question.
where to recycle? This is the article, and
Yeah.
put that link.
And then just send it or whatever
Uh-huh.
off of our website.
Guide the people to the article.
Maybe Lori and I have been barking up the wrong tree.
It'd be really simple, just give them all
Yeah.
the credit.
Yeah, right, put by AARP, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's a great
good
one,
idea.
Brad.
Yeah,
All right, do link instead, okay.
Yeah.
And,
For,
Tom, can I mention that this Saturday at Village Hall, we're going to have that shred event like we do every 6 months? And Jeff Saban from Waste Management is here every single time.
Yes.
So if anybody would like to talk to him,
Oh,
he's here on
there
site.
you go, a live person.
A very nice guy.
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
Yeah, I've been waiting for a year to come and dump all my ancillary mail on this.
It's a
shredding.
great
It's a
service.
great
I
service.
appreciate
It
that.
is, and you can get a cup of coffee and a donut while you're waiting. It's true. And the police officers are there and some firefighters sometimes.
Love our village.
Okay, so, but we're still down to,
Yeah.
Where do you put that?
should one person be the point? So, you know, like, I don't know. I mean, I know you're all busy. I'm extremely busy. I don't know what to do, but I think we're missing, yes, we can do what
Consistent
Brad said. We
communication.
can put some links on our website. We can probably utilize more articles by using the link only and doing things like,
I mean,
want some hot tips on
I can
recycling,
try.
follow this link, whatever.
Do we
I can
have,
try.
do we have
outside?
interns?
Yeah,
Does the
well,
village have interns?
if we're just suggesting something to put on, is this, I mean,
Or we could,
Just
can
little
we recruit
blurbs.
somebody outside of the committee that can you do that?
Well, are you talking about
Volunteer?
staff time?
No, no,
Get
no,
somebody to-
find a volunteer that would say, I would love to do your PR
Oh.
pieces for this committee.
We
Can
could
you
put a
do
word
that?
out that we are looking for someone.
Yeah, that would be good.
Well, when
Then-
I reach out to the environmental
Oh, yeah,
people,
that's-
see if they got somebody there who's savvy.
You just-
If they're young students,
Yeah.
they know digital.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I'm not even on
We need
Facebook.
you to create a monthly piece of content for us.
To that same measure, I apologize, it just jogged my memory. We could have a sign even at like the pickleball court in Tequesta Park, for example, if there was a volunteer that wanted to bring a recycling bin, or if there were bottles, water bottles left. They might be somebody, a passionate group of people that are athletic and capable. There might be somebody that wants to carry them because they're already out there. So, even that on the website, or having volunteer suggestions to make people aware. In my experience interacting with the vast majority of the community at the food trucks over the hours that I'm there, which I would encourage, again, anybody to come and kind of get a feel for, you can really get a pulse of the community and see how into it they are. Because for the most part, everybody's pretty interested and very much wants to help protect and preserve our community. So, but the volunteer opportunities, I think, would be great.
So, does anybody on this board want to volunteer? Volunteer to find a volunteer that would do our, I don't know what you'd call it. It'd be
PR.
like a PR person
It's
that
PR.
just.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, I mean, like.
But casual,
that's-
and any, we've got it out there, we can all just kind of go out and see.
Yeah, what we can
Might be bring
produce, and
somebody.
when I
Yeah.
find out about the receptacles, I'll see if there's
This is my
anybody that
line.
wants to take on a
Okay.
PR related.
Let us know.
PR.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll ask at my women's network.
I know,
too.
exactly.
Okay.
If they know
For
anyone.
our community, I'm not, don't have time.
So,
I'm like, yeah, and this is. I'm-
we're now on comments of committee members, village council liaison, which is Lori Brandon. She doesn't, she's got kids to pick up, etc. So, do you, any of you have any other comments for what they say is for the good of the order?
I have
Only
a
thi-
question.
or go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Only thing I had was, I just wanted to make sure to give some acknowledgement and thanks to Michelle and Jessica for, the
Thank you.
event.
Yeah, that was a great
Thank you
event.
for representing, and, it was fantastic, so.
This girl has
Thank
got
you.
it going on on her display.
Yeah.
We had, and this one was over leading a team pulling vines all day in the heat. So we did a great job. It was a good teamwork. It was a wonderful turnout. It
But
was
my
such a
only
great event.
Suggestion is to make sure VOT has on their
Exactly.
canopy a big VOT logo, because
Yeah, I was
Trying to
glad
rep
to see you
ourselves.
both had adequate headwear to
Yeah.
avoid sunburn and all of
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Not my first
But
rodeo.
she's right about that, because I did borrow the village's tent too. So I don't know if the logo.
I asked Lori, she said we're not putting a logo on that tent, because
Or on any of, do we have them on at least one or no?
I know that like Parks and Rec has a logo.
Okay.
So on the next new one,
But, we just got this one and we just use it for,
General.
twice a year.
so maybe it could just, is there one somewhere in this, on the grounds that we can just stick it on, whatever we.
I think what it was is it just looks like there, every tent kind of had a logo, and then this is Village of Tequesta we were representing, and it didn't have the village,
stand out.
yeah, that's all.
Yeah, banner.
What
Yeah,
about
so-
a banner?
Well, and that's what I've said for food trucks, just EAC, because I just,
Oh, it looks.
Borrow that for a little while.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
right, it's just that a lot of them, they just have them like screen printed, that was
Yeah.
all, I understood that. But I'm not, that's not necessary.
That came
You could
off
do a
little too
banner.
easy.
necessarily.
I was
Yeah.
shocked.
You could do a banner and put it up.
Yes,
Well,
and
the
Jeremy
village
has,
has-
yes,
yeah.
we've discussed having signage like that, more permanent signage, even the kind that hangs, they
Yep.
hang from the bars or whatever, so.
Okay.
But thank you.
Are there any other comments?
I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So a person wants to go to the village website and see something about the Environmental Advisory Committee. How do they do that?
I think it's under.
'Cause I've just tried.
I think it's under the clerks. I think there's a page showing up
I
under
typed it in,
clerk.
how can we help? And all I get is the non-interactive kind of.
I couldn't find it either.
Yeah.
Can you go to where it shows the departments?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
went there and I couldn't find it, unless I skimmed over it.
Unless it's in one of these categories, but it doesn't make sense, it would be.
most sense.
There's a building department, clerk, community
I
development.
think that the clerk's office has a
All right, I'll
page
put
or
it in.
section that'll take you to committees.
Boards and committees under village clerk.
Okay, so somebody would have to know to go to village clerk.
You bring up a good point.
Because
Boards and
our
committees.
department handles all boards and committees.
Okay.
So once you go under boards and committees,
All right.
under the village clerk's department, you'll see the environmental advisory committee is the first one that's listed.
Okay.
And we
So
know
it's
that.
there, it's just navigating to, for the general
Yeah.
public to get to how many would know to go to that. So I'm just talking out, think tanking, making things easy. I don't know if under departments, it won't fit. There's too many other things that would probably go in that. It's not a department
Yeah, we need to
anyway.
keep it clean.
It's not a department,
Yeah, because I mean, it would have to, you'd
Has
have
to
to
stay
do planning
clean.
and zoning, you'd have to, you
Yeah,
know.
then it's not clean. But even if I typed in, I go to the I'd like to, and I type in the Environmental Advisory Committee, and I just get all the dates and,
Try environmental committee, not advise, don't use the word advisory.
Yeah, I mean, when I type in environmental, the EAC comes up.
oops. Typed in environmental, and I get
So-
departments.
Yes, Greg, go ahead.
Going to a website is
Anyway.
great. I know a lot of people exist on social media sites.
Mhm.
This, I don't, I'm trying to.
Good for you.
Yeah,
But-
so don't try, don't even
But,
go there.
You said we have an environmental committee face page, or Facebook page.
No.
I don't think we have that.
Do we have, we don't have anything, it's just that.
Just that.
Yeah,
yes.
this is not,
Is it
it's a word.
allowed for the Environmental Action Committee to have its
User-friendly.
own Facebook page?
That's a good question.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because this
Because
is,
who's gonna manage it?
Who's gonna manage it and put everything out to the public?
Well,
has to get
it would
approved.
be, right, I was just wondering if it's like
Yeah,
a hard
I
stop
don't
or,
know any other boards or committees that have their own pages, and ultimately would be up to us to manage, I think. Like we manage Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
so the Village of Tequesta has that.
Correct.
They have
Would it
their-
be possible for the EAC to publish
I don't see why.
content on that?
I think so.
and
They-
there could
but
be
they
a
would-
button on
yeah,
there
have
for
to approve.
EAC on
For
the.
sure.
Yeah, we would be submitting
On
content
Facebook.
to be published on the
Oh,
Village of
yes.
Tequesta's social
Yes.
media.
That would be the way to.
That, I think, is one of the more effective ways of disseminating
I
information.
think you're definitely on to.
User
Social
friendly.
media?
This
Yeah.
isn't user friendly.
We just need to create a database of content
It's
to
the
be.
content creation that's the.
Correct, to be given to their social media.
Yes, because we already have a group of followers, we already.
Correct,
have-
it's built in already,
Mhm.
yeah.
Done.
Do you know, Mary Ann, is your Facebook page linked automatically to Instagram? Because that's an option that's available. You kill
sure.
two
We
birds
have
with one
Instagram
stone.
and Facebook, I don't know if they are linked, but when we post on one, we post on all.
Okay,
They typically-
so essentially, yes.
Sounds
Twitter?
like it's linked,
And
yeah.
we're
Yes.
verified.
Twitter, right?
Yeah, yeah. Just last week, we were Twitter
Formerly known as Twitter.
Give it
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Instagram verified, we're Facebook verified, we have it all.
That I
That's
think is
definitely
the most
the
effective.
path of least resistance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looking at, this is the Facebook page, so there's this button line here. Maybe we can add a button that says EAC, and a button for planning and zoning or something,
And
maybe.
then who's gonna do the
Oh,
posting
right,
on
the
it?
content, yeah.
We
Okay.
would still be in charge of it.
Right.
Our
again,
So we
volunteer
would
that we're
send you the
looking for.
content.
Correct,
You
it's
would
us
post it?
giving them
Okay.
content.
Okay.
And I imagine
Yeah,
the
yeah.
more content we give them, the more they'll
Yeah.
post-environment
Eventually, if we
related
get
thing.
a
Yeah.
volunteer, PR volunteer, they could be an integral
Yeah.
part of that. with-
That's great.
Okay.
So everybody has an assignment to go look for a
You
volunteer.
have a very active
It's,
paper.
yeah, it's good. We got the thinking caps on here today. Anything else? I had one thing that some of us were talking about before the meeting started, and it's the new Tequesta.org mail system, email system. I think, I've used Outlook before, but when I was in Palm Beach, like I said earlier, unfortunately, I had it linked to everything so that no matter where I was, whether I was on Gmail or AOL or whatever it was at those times, I automatically got the stuff that was coming into my inbox at Outlook for the town of Palm Beach. Does anybody know how to do that? Because here's what's happening. Number one, I haven't killed my old VOT Gmail account yet. And I don't know why, but I still get emails coming in from the village and so forth there. But it's irrelevant. I will eventually shut it down. But I want to be able for Tequesta.org email to come into my Gmail account, because what's happening, if we don't come up with a way to do that, you can bet your bottom dollar that a lot of us are just totally missing out on the communications that are coming, supposed to be coming to us through Tequesta.org. So does anybody know how to do that? I heard Michelle talking earlier that she is working with, I guess...
Brad at IT,
Yeah, Brad.
and we can't,
So it sounds like there might be a way, and it's not a way?
No,
I
I
thought you
can't.
said that you gave
No.
up because it was time consuming.
no, he not able to get it to come into my email server, which is MacMail. Can't get it to go in there. And we were working together, he could see me pinging the village of Tequesta to request to be connected or whatever, but it wouldn't connect. So we just gave up, and I just have to physically go to, I don't even know what it is, Google Chrome, type in the
Yeah,
mail.tequesta.
go into Chrome, have to type the whole, yeah.
Put my
it's
address,
pain.
my password, my shoe size.
Yeah.
But
Blood type, fingerprint.
But when you say that, it sounds like that if you do that, it will work. But you're saying you did that and it still didn't work.
I worked with Brad, and we couldn't get it to,
See, this is a problem. See, it required, like for
it's
example,
beyond my scope of knowledge for that kind of stuff.
at around 11 a.m. this morning, I realized, oh, I haven't checked mail.org in a long time. And there was an email from Lori McWilliams saying, please let me know if you're coming. So, that's an example. If you don't get it automatically in your inbox,
Yeah.
you're just not gonna know about it.
That's right.
I don't.
So is there anything
So
that we can
because I
figure
have
this?
a Mac. We have Mac. Not everybody has Macs. But you're getting yours, right, Tom?
Everybody has what?
You have an Apple or a
I have a Dell.
I
PC?
have everything I have is Apple, Macs.
Yeah, so I think it's because you're getting yours played, right?
Well, no, that's a whole nother issue. I still don't even have internet, an email access.
No, we're not.
Okay.
That's
So
another issue.
we're all still having issues.
Okay, but
Ray
because
doesn't
I
even
did
have it, but those with
Have we done new
Macs,
business?
Yeah.
you literally
What's that?
have to
I'm
go
confused.
and log
You-
in.
You
business
are
to
getting
the
your
website.
emails
On
on the new
Actually,
system.
this is new.
You just walk through
Yeah,
it.
it's
Yes.
the way it's
Yes.
Automatically.
Is she
And then- so you have to
can't
put
even
the
get on?
address, and then you have
To
to.
her-
So you can't set up the
It's like
automatic.
Oh, she can't, the same thing, okay, I'm sorry,
So
yeah.
you
It's
can't
really
download,
So I'm sorry, ladies, hold on a second. Were you saying
No.
something, Jessica?
No, I was just making sure that I I was saying, we're in new business right now still. This is new business?
No, we're under, we're
Yeah,
in
we're
your
in
business.
Okay, okay.
So you want to bring something up?
Whenever we're finished.
Are you
All
having
right,
an
so
issue
what,
too with your
can
Mac?
can you share the conversation that you were talking about?
So I was just explaining, what Michelle was saying is that you have to put in you have to go to Chrome and put in the website, correct me if I'm wrong, to get you there, and then put your name, your password to then have access. So you have to do all the manual steps to come in, basically, on the back end.
So theoretically, it's possible.
It is, but it is.
It's
It
not-
shouldn't be like that.
Now,
No, not
You
in
should be able
today's
to
day and
have, yeah,
time.
no.
so everybody's having that problem.
With
I
Max,
don't
now
understand
Clay
Max.
still needs to get
I don't
connected.
think, what's
Oh,
all
hold on.
You're,
This
you're
is
on
my
your own
work.
island.
If I want to go
I-
to,
Does that all show up
Let
at
me
two?
explain,
mail?
I think the first problem that we may,
I want
many of
this-
us may have
this account
is,
to be in my.
come on, let's have one conversation at a time. The problem that many of us are having is we don't even know the steps to go
Yeah.
in and make it automatically show up in our preferred email inbox.
That's true.
Which you might not be able to do anyway, because I took it to Brad, to IT, and said, how do I do this? And he tried it for me.
Well, I don't.
Maybe
use-
at our next
I
meeting,
use
we
Gmail
can-
as mine.
Well, it may,
And
Why
I
don't we
want
do
another
that?
one.
Brad should be able to figure it out by talking to either Google or to Microsoft, but it could be related to that verification thing that they have.
Duo thing.
We gotta try to guess, is that a W or an M, or
Oh.
you gotta put that in
I'm
before?
looking.
So that may be part of what's holding us, I don't know, I'm not an
No.
expert, I have no idea.
Can that be
But
part
we
of our
have to
next
figure
meeting?
out, because
Or before, like if you
Well,
want
yeah.
to.
what's the
That
point
might be
of
long.
it? We understand why the village needs it.
Right.
But it's not doing us any good if we can't see it automatically coming in.
Totally. Should we have like them reach out, I don't know how, to try and have a special meeting where we all come here and,
Oh, that's a good
and
idea.
Just set us up.
just with our
Poor
emails?
Brad.
I'm all for that, but Mary Ann, if you can get the steps emailed, maybe I can try and see if I'm successful at home, but we would still have because we know that Michelle's not able to do it, so that
She's already
walkthrough.
worked with Brad, that's the concerning part to me, that
Yeah.
she's already gone through IT and it's not working.
That's shocking.
I can't
We're
find a
talking
way
about
to
forwarding an email. Like,
update my passcode. So I'm just stuck with the passcode.
So just so I'm clear, everyone's having this issue, Clay hasn't even gotten to getting.
I just
his
have it on my
email set up.
phone
There
right
it
now,
is.
guys. I haven't
well,
looked on here.
I don't
No,
know,
I
Brad,
can,
are you
I can
okay?
regularly get in.
I just go down
My
there.
problem is,
What's the problem?
I
Google?
want
You use
what
Google
comes
as
to
your
my
mail server.
inbox to come into
Yeah.
my
So
Gmail
this is a Google
inbox.
Yes,
thing.
that's what I
So
want.
And everybody
I
will want
switched
that.
from my Apple.
Right.
It's just, you want it simple, like we have all our
Like all
Gmails,
my
because this
Gmails
other
from
one is
other
going to a
Gmails
separate
go to
server,
my Apple Mail,
going
but this one
just for that. And
Might
You
be
won't, you
security.
won't
What's
know if you have
Outlook?
email unless you
Let's check.
consciously
is.
log in
Yeah.
and take a look.
And it's so not
Oh, I don't know.
on the top
Yeah.
of the to-do,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
then
Oh,
it'll be
that's
weeks
right, because he
before,
did
I'm
say
like,
you
oh,
weren't just
I've
open
not been
Outlook.
on there.
Yeah, I'm not opening an
All right,
Outlook.
so
I have
folks,
6.
what we're
Have you
talking
have you
about-
tried that though? Like, have you guys tried opening an Outlook account and then merging the Outlook with your Apple?
But that's just another
Yeah, but it's
step.
but it well, but I mean,
Say that again, is that different than what we
well,
were-
because it works with Outlook.
It's
You know,
out
I
there.
have Gmail, Outlook, yeah. So I was saying, if you're trying to get Outlook in as an account on your under mail instead of Gmail, you know, because I think you were just saying Gmail, so I don't know if Outlook would pull in.
No, well, what we're
Brad
talking
tried
about,
it.
to be clear, what we're talking about is, once you get access to the Tequesta.org Outlook email system, what we want is for any emails that are coming into the Outlook Tequesta.org
To get
to
forwarded,
appear in my Gmail account. Because otherwise, if you don't remember
Oh, so he has
to
Gmail.
go,
Yeah.
you're not gonna read it.
It's like an automatic forwarding,
Yes,
basically.
Yeah.
which
That sounds
shouldn't
like
be
security.
rocket science. I'm so shocked that the
I like the
IT
idea of trying to make an appointment with Brad and we bring our computers.
Well,
Yeah.
let me see if because
Like
I
I said, I've already been.
think
this
that I
route.
might. I
You
mean,
couldn't come up with a.
I'm fairly certain.
is just
Are you able to get it on your phone?
Yeah.
Oh,
But-
that's
but-
the answer right there.
Yeah.
You're getting it.
Well, but what I was just, I mean, I have all, but like I said, I use Gmail though primarily, you know, not Apple.
Oh, okay.
But I think wouldn't it just merge in like it does there? Can't you just select, like you're creating a new account under your Gmail that it brings in and then you're looking at, it's under all inboxes?
That's what we were thinking, but it didn't do it.
Oh.
won't do it.
Okay.
And
No,
he's
I don't think,
from
I
the
mean,
IT side.
years
Has to be
ago when I
Google.
had AOL and switched to Gmail, there was no
That's
automatic
old now.
email coming in from Gmail.
Well, no, but you can merge, like, again, you can have multiple accounts under, I have 10 accounts, if you look under my Gmail, all of the different accounts that I have, you know, and not all of them are sourced necessarily from a Gmail account, I guess.
Really?
I have
I-
multiple Gmail accounts
Really? You
in
can
my
get
Mac
other
mail.
kinds of like Outlook and AOL and everything together?
I have it right into my.
Now
Apple
everybody's
mail.
making me question
I-
myself,
I
maybe
need
not,
to
I don't
get an IT
know, now I'm
person.
confused.
I need that IT person to
Yeah, I
send
don't
me
know,
that.
all right, all right.
So,
I did
so
too.
Mary Ann, you know what, you've heard what our problems are.
That'd be
Texting
lovely.
Lori right now and see if we can get somebody to come over and just like
Gosh.
help everybody.
All right, so we're almost done. Is there any other
Yeah.
comments? Jess?
I did, yes, I just wanted to follow up on a few different things that I have done since our last meeting. Following up on the National Public Lands Day, some of the, I know that BLM had spoken about creating a trail, that Tequesta wanted to possibly partner to create a trail that would be for the north side of the BLM property, the Tequesta side, that would have an access point for residents on Tequesta's property, like on the US 1 entrance where that kind of fencing starts. So that was something that had been brought up when we were working that day. And again, that would be something fun, I think, for residents if they do decide to follow up on that, that people may want to help clear that trail, you know, or,
You create an additional entrance?
I thought they mentioned that before, and I thought that no, it was a different committee, there's different people, but I thought we were sort of unanimously opposed to that idea.
well, it didn't sound like it was, it sounded, I mean, somebody approached me from BLM
Uh-huh.
and, you know, said, hey, when we're gonna clear a trail to
They're
Quest, so they
definitely
could be,
doing it, okay.
they could be uninformed, or I could be, you know, it could be lost in I don't know. All I'm saying is that we should follow up or find out.
Where's the location of that?
Well, when you're driving over Cato's Bridge,
Uh-huh.
if you're approaching Cato's,
Right, you've got the parking on both
yep,
sides.
so the north side is Tequesta and the south side is Jupiter.
Oh, and they want to expand the trail.
Well, no, it's just their only entrance,
Access.
the only way to access that property at this point is by going around,
parking.
turning off of US
which
1.
is
And
great.
so we're saying, we have residents, there are people
good
that would
thing.
like, I guess, to be able to access it from, you know, right outside that, yeah, from US 1, like outside the plaza where Pet Supermarket is essentially.
I have a vague recollection of what Russ is thinking.
I do too.
It sounds like.
Because
a
that's
bad
all
idea.
My
residential.
recollection is that maybe it was the Village of Tequesta or FDOT, because they operate US 1, was that it was not wise or safe to have a driveway access point between the bank at the top of the hill and the bottom.
I think it was only walking access.
Walking?
Yeah, I did
Okay.
not, this did not sound like it was a parking
So
access.
it's
This sounded a
trail.
walking trail.
So that's what you meant by
A
trail?
walking trail.
Oh.
Yeah, like a walking trail, where they might just cut a little sliver of the fence out. Yeah,
To
that was
allow
my
you in.
interpretation. This is not, I did not, yeah, no parking
Okay, well,
lot.
that's different than what I have a vague recollection of someone requesting somewhere along the way. So
Okay.
That's different.
Yes, this was not,
What's the name of that park?
So are you saying,
Jupiter and the Lighthouse.
so
That's
what are
in
you
the national
asking? Are
area.
you just
I was saying,
FYI? or
so
what?
that was brought up to me while I was at the event. And again, I think that the success, it was nice for Tequesta to be involved in that property of ours in like how, cleaning it and clearing,
Yeah.
helping physically feel like you're removing an invasive species or doing, so it would be nice. I don't know, again, but if in the future, even if we hosted like a monthly cleanup or a monthly invasive species pull or something like that, could be another idea.
Okay.
Okay, so then that's that event. After that, FWC had their commission meeting that happened to be held in Jensen Beach. And the Jupiter Narrows was at the forefront of one of the agenda items, of which was a new rule that they were making. that basically was coming about because they agreed with the many residents and people that had been pushing for a reduced speed limit in the Jupiter Narrows right when you come under Cato's Bridge, but they weren't able to follow through with it because the Marine Industries Association had sued them. And so the rule passed, this new rule, so now they have the groundwork in place to assess what areas need
Reduction.
this reduction and to make the best decision and the moves to do so. So I met with Captain Travis Franklin, who is the lawyer who kind of helped form this, and asked what it was on our end that we could do, if anything, to help. And the best thing that Tequesta police could do is issue citations on the water and basically document what they're seeing, because those are the things that we need. And it's unsafe. It's safety. It's unsafe speed. Basically, is the only thing. We're not, not interested in operating under the influence. Well, I guess maybe, I don't know. But from my understanding, it was speed specifically, which is an issue because the 25-mile-an-hour speed is boats with 4 engines have to. If you're going that. You were just plowing away. To get on plane, they've got to go faster than that.
Now, some of those people in the opposite direction, they don't start slowing down until they get to that
right,
number,
yeah.
which is, that's a citation
exactly,
right there.
Exactly. So all of those things, I think that the more documentation of that we could have, the better that FWC will be able to help for the safety of the community, the public safety, and of course the natural area, that we all understand there. Also, when I was there, I met Dee Dee Halpern, who is the current, I believe, mayor of Juneau Beach. This card says council member, but she was the mayor when I met her. And she was hoping, she has asked, I guess suggested, she said multiple times to her council that they start a similar environmental advisory committee for Juneau, and that has been turned down. So I said, really? Well, we've got Jupiter, and we're here in Tequesta, and I think that we could say, hey, Juneau, I don't know how this is done, so to speak. I certainly told her that if she were to suggest it in the future to let me know, because if we could go to support her, I said, I would certainly go to support that. Yeah. But I think if there's a way that we could reach out to even Jupiter and say that we would like to reach out to Juneau, as having Loggerhead there and everything else, it's mind-blowing to me that they would have declined twice that suggestion.
Well, what they do have is a citizens environmental committee that's not under the control of Juneau Beach. And I have done what you just said, been asked in the past, I go and say, hey, I'm on the Tequesta EAC, you guys ought to have one too.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. But they like the fact that they don't have to deal with it. In other words, they don't have to do this. And so they seem to be okay with this bunch of citizens doing it without being under the arm of the town of Juneau Beach. I think they're making a mistake. I think that in a sense they're violating the Sunshine Law of Florida because they have farmed it out to a citizens group, but they regularly act and implement on that which that citizens group is recommending, and therefore it's a de facto committee and they should be sued and fined.
Well, yeah, I think we should say that then. Because truly the council I think that they should be reminded of that, and that it behooves them and our coastal, community here for our local governments to have an environmental advisory committee.
Let me ask you a question about the captain, what's his name? The Fish and Wildlife. Did you say that they believe that they have the criteria necessary to proceed with a rule change, but then he's asking you to get people to turn in the speeders so that they have more citations.
Let me clarify.
Isn't that
The
a
rule that passed
criteria?
pertains to the entire state of Florida. So
Okay.
this was a general rule. They used the example, and the presentation opened with the Jupiter Narrows. However, the rule itself is applicable to the entire state, and it gives FWC a guideline to objectively view any body of water that somebody brings before them to assess under a set criteria to see if it is necessary to proceed, basically. And so that's why when we were asking, he said it could be 6 months before we're able to revisit the Narrows and see them back on, because we were hoping to see it on the December meeting agenda, but they laughed basically in our face and said it just 6 months is, probably more likely. And that in the meantime, because they have to assess, they're going to have to present the public rule or show it to the public and do a few procedural things, and then I guess then they as a committee have to decide what area they're going to address first, which hopefully this is such an open and shut case with the Narrows being their baseline. They've already kind of fought the battle, and it's just a matter of following up with this now to seal the deal. So it sounds very much like we would be first up. And it would be one of the issues that we encountered with MIA marine industry is that they would there aren't any sites there. What is the problem? There's no issue. There's very little documented. There's very little proof. So that's a problem.
So then FWC was asking you
they
to...
had just, I said to this lawyer, when we were speaking afterwards, I said, as a resident, is there anything that we can reach out to our, we're Tequesta, the boating, we have police that essentially.
police boat,
yeah. And so what can we do? Because we did have a council that supported this, and as a community, we certainly have supported this. The paddleboarding community had like 13, I don't know how many signatures, 1,000. It was a lot of people. But anybody.
Well, they could cite all the kids that jump off of that bridge. I mean, they're jumping off the bridge into the water, depending on the tide. I mean, boats are flying.
They could. The
under
main
that
one, I
bridge
think the big
constantly.
thing, the paddleboarders that are crossing the channel, that was a big thing that Marine they like to point out that their paddleboarders and jet skiers are huge violators also. I think that the issues that we're facing are that the proposed rule was only for weekends and holidays, where for those of us that are like, well, what about spring break? What about summer? What about, all of these, when schools have, UF may not be on the same holiday as Miami, you've got kids coming home, it's like spring break can last all of March, or April, or whatever. So, and then we had, discussed, well, if there was a shortened distance, could it be maybe 24 hours, 7 days a week if we reduce the distance we're requesting the speed reduction? So these are all different things that are going to come up in the future. And so having any documentation of where issues are, what they are, the more the better. They even, getting speed, somebody had asked, it's all a funding, getting somebody out there and on site for them.
They need proof that there's a problem.
Exactly.
Florida talks out of both sides of its mouth. Number one, the legislature, I think it was $500 million, appropriated $500 million for the Indian River Lagoon, which Jupiter Narrows is the southernmost part of. And yet, they're pretending to be environmentalists, say we gave you $500 million, and then another state agency is just saying, we can't do anything, or we're under the Marine Industries Association is stopping us at every step of the way. It's just, it's window dressing. $500 million is window dressing if you can't get legislation through your Fish and Wildlife Commission to control the damages to seagrasses, to manatees, to blah, 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 blah.
Captain Travis Franklin lives in Tallahassee. He drove down, these meetings rotate throughout the state. We were so lucky that they were in Jensen Beach and that there were a group of us that all went and spoke. at this one, that it was close, because it could have been in the Key, it could be anywhere. And so,
Isn't the number one recommendation that citizens and/or law enforcement, like the Tequesta Police, Watercraft, that they turn in every instance of speeding to someone?
how,
Like a citizen's,
Yeah, isn't that what they're telling us to do?
there is no way.
I've never heard of that.
I haven't either, but if they told me to do that, I'd have that same reaction.
I know for a fact
There's-
that, you know
I've watched
Susan
somebody
Panera- you know
crash
Susan
into the
Panella?
piling on there.
Do you know Susan Panella?
Yes,
She lives in Lamar.
yes.
She sent me documentation where they, FWC,
Mhm.
told her
Mm-hmm.
to tell the citizens to call a phone number every time there's an incident of speeding.
Wow, okay.
I would just be curious who they is, which often, like, who was that and when was it?
It was the lady that does mangrove protection for FWC in this part of
Well, what's interesting is, because my other qualm with FWC, City of Palm Beach Gardens is calling me right now. Do you think they're listening or watching? Can I say something? Oh, gosh, wouldn't be this. Anyway, but, you know, they can only, their only concerns, or they can only take into consideration the effects on manatee and on public safety. And that is it. Not sea turtles, not seagrass, not mangroves, nothing.
But if a
Nothing. Just manatee and
But the manatee
people.
doesn't have seagrass, we don't have
It's
manatees.
just the manatee and just the people. You can't talk
Okay.
about anything else.
Who, FWC?
Mhm.
Yeah, but FWC has a manatee.
It's only the manatees and the people, public safety. There's no turtles, you know,
Oh,
they can't
okay,
factor
only-
in
I'm
turtles,
sorry.
seagrass, mangroves. So
There-
this
there-
mangrove lady,
Well, there's plenty of reasons to have a no-wake zone in the
of
Jordan
course,
area.
it's dangerous, and we all know that, and they've agreed with that. And, you know, what we really have in our favor is that their former commissioner, Commissioner Soul, Mike Soul, who has since retired and followed up all of public comment by getting up there and saying, hello, fellow commissioners. He lived on Beach Road in one of those buildings, he and his wife. So he knows firsthand, this was really his bone that he picked and battle that we've all, you know, he's supported hugely this. So they, that is, you know, that's who they believe, you know. And so there's, yes, I think that this will be something that, but having the documentation will help in any pushback that we're, you know, undoubtedly going to get from MIA.
And Butch was with you guys?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, and then, last but not least, food trucks. I apologize for not having sent out an email, but the food trucks are in, you know, the first Friday of the following months until May, is it? April. And this, though, was the National Night Out. And this, they're calling back to back the City of Palm Beach Gardens. I'm not quite sure what's going on. And so,
You know, I wondered why I didn't know about it, so I dove into it, and I did have on my calendar for that day, van clans. That's all it said. I didn't know what I didn't.
oh, right, well, it was, I don't know, I didn't know that,
Is
but
that something?
Trucks and
what is van
Tunes is-
clan?
That's from Parks and Rec, where they, you know, a lot of older people go and have like a field trip, go to a restaurant,
Oh,
go to a park, something
So
like
I
that.
never really, since van clans is unrelated to food trucks.
well,
I
this
never
was
even got-
National Night Out. And so
signed up
I
for
did
the
have to
wrong one.
speak with Lieutenant,
Yeah.
Is it Keith Small?
And they probably said it to me because they thought I should be on that trip.
was it? I don't think so. Anyway,
Join the van.
we did set up and there was a wonderful turnout, but I do meet quite a few people and talk with quite a few people, and, you know, would like to have some way of communicating, obviously, just do I send email blasts with what we go over each time, but we had one woman who I would like to offer this to the board and anybody that has their expertise. She's got a bird of paradise that is not blooming, and she's very concerned and has had it for a while, so we're not sure that it's just from length of time, but she left her email address for anybody that would be willing to help with that. Another gentleman is an artist in the community who has reached out to other towns and is wanting to do a fishing line installment, basically for the
Wherever they fish.
pardon?
Wherever they fish. You're talking
Well,
about.
no, this is for the Clean Ocean, it's for one of our,
Fishing lines.
he's collecting from loggerhead, people that are collecting fishing line. He's reached out to these different groups that I guess collect along the beaches, and he's requesting to take the fishing line from them. And he's making an art installation
Oh, I gotcha.
that's got the fishing line from all of these different communities. And so he had been there and reached out to me and given me his card too, to see if Tequesta, you know, would be interested, I believe, in participating. And so I'm just, I'll see if he follows up. But, you know.
What would be participation? To help give
Donating,
fish
yes,
line?
would be, if we have any groups locally that do beach cleanups that would be interested in pulling the beach line, or the fishing line from them to have as Tequesta's contribution.
I know we talked about this at some point in one of the
The-
past, where those
Yes.
big PVC pipes,
Yeah.
where fishermen can stick their line.
I mentioned that to him.
Did we ever, is there one?
No, we don't.
We
because
don't?
We don't have those, no.
Okay.
I gotta check at Coral Cove. When I was there for the recycling, I thought I remembered seeing some.
Yeah,
The Beach
somewhere.
Bucket Foundation might have put a few of the buckets
I
in
gotta double
there.
check on that.
But I've only
I know
seen
they
the
had
beach
the beach
line.
buckets, and maybe now that I'm thinking about it, next to the beach buckets, there might have been something for.
Something, yeah.
That's another one where it requires somebody to clear, you know, which would be a
True.
great senior project or volunteer project. Again, you know, it's not that hard.
How
And
much
so many
does
of
this
us.
guy need? He can clear it.
Well, you should see the picture he showed me. I mean, it was like a curtain of like different fishing line. He had it all kind of, anyway. I guess my point too, you know, if there's a suggestion box or a drop-off box, if I should put something, you know, for people to be able to reach out at food trucks, just because, again, I've had people come up and, you know, say all sorts of things. You know, I've had, you know, questions and concerns and.
Is it something that's worthy of smoke signals, or is it something that's worthy of a link on our page that says, hey, if you're interested in X, Y, and Z artwork thing?
Well, that is separate, I guess, than what I would say. I think that it's just that the artwork is one of, you know, there could be another project next month that somebody is doing that they approach us to see. And I'm not sure if there should be like a suggestion box. I think I'd put one out even at one point in the beginning years.
Yeah, you did.
You know, that Risa and I think I remember us drawing something for, because again, people might want to write something and slip it in anonymously as opposed to ask
Yeah,
or
they'll
say
tell you,
something.
they'll give you weird things like save the whales. Or
But that's fine, you know. Well, no, actually, I did have a request to do one. The children want me to do a scavenger hunt through Constitution Park with rocks hidden throughout, where I provide them with maps, and they have to find them and come back and receive
Wow.
the stickers as
That would
prizes.
be fun.
I know. I was like, wow. Do you want to help me? Do you want to create that? So.
Anything else?
No, I don't think.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm looking here, I can't tell, our next meeting is, whatever it is the second, do you have a calendar? My computer,
Yeah, let me bring it
I'm
up.
wondering if it runs in the way of Veterans Day or something. Veterans is on Monday, isn't it?
Oh, that's-
November 8th.
When is Veterans Day?
The 10th, I think, right? Or I know that the rec center's closed the 10th, it said on the doors today.
Okay, well, anyway, we know it's typically the second Tuesday of the month. So, welcome to the new planner. In Germany, it would be Miss Wagner. And appreciate you coming regularly to our meetings, and your input, Jay, today was very helpful. So, if there's a motion to adjourn, I think we have a lot of people that would be in a rush to second. Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Now I gotta go home and try to fix this.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
This is for
Perfect.
model policy for single-use plastic. That, as discussed, you can only do on city
Thank you.
property, village property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know,
Thank
this
you
is
for-
so
thank you.
frustrating. I mean, we've definitely tried, this was, I know I wasn't in here earlier, but this was like mind-blowing to me that we couldn't get that passed previously.
You can do it on your property, and you can, like the food truck thing, you can put it in their contract when they renew their contracts. Because it's a constitutional park.
At town property, gotcha, okay.
Town property. But of course, all the food trucks have a contract already, so you can't make them do it now. But when the contract gets renewed, you can write it in the no water bottles and stuff.
Can you get through
And-
that?
And I think that's probably just becoming more and more common anyway. They probably have those options set aside. No, the hay, I like the hay, I like the,
Michelle, I made a note, I was gonna try to send you something.
Wonderful.
But I don't have your email.
Okay, see if I can remember.
Because the website doesn't list you guys' email.
Oh.
you know, they just
Oh, 'cause
switched
they just
ours
changed
from,
them.
we now have, Tequesta.org emails. We used to have,
That was that one.
Yeah.
No, we got that.
oh yeah.
You can share anything you want, but if I send it to you, you don't check it on your computer. and you
Right.
forget it.
Occasionally, all right, is that it? Tequesta.org, is that the new?
So
Yeah,
last night I
okay.
had my,
Wonderful, I appreciate
board
that.
meeting. You know,
Very
you saw
much,
me at
and
the
thank you
post
for coming
office the other
today.
day.
Yeah.
And I told him, you know,
Stay all right.
I said, this is
You're
the
on-
last
you
year I'm
heard
ever gonna
us.
do this stuff for you people, and I, like I told you, I was only half of it.
Yeah.
And so I got a unanimous vote, we're just gonna outsource the whole thing.
Oh,
Pain in the ass.
yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Take that off your plate.
That's exactly right.
All right, nice to meet you too. All righty. What's for dinner?
Jessica, though, was able to link her, so.
Really?
Yeah, and so she said she.
Maybe if that's true, then the secret might be download Outlook.
Yes.
It's in your phone and computer.
That's what I do on
I
my.
know you, right? Yeah.
So you're able to read your stuff on your.
I experienced it.
Yeah.
They had it in the Google Test last year, and then again this year.
Just like every other email.
And they're trying to, roll it out to all the citizens. Yeah, and you can say, well, that's what's
separate from your personal.
parks,
But it's still.
but you know what?
Yeah.
People in Tequesta.
That's how I do it.
Could
Probably make a lead
Go
job.
down that
If they
path, I'm
stop.
also
Yeah.
going down the path of where
It's not-
Michelle failed,
new or whatever.
because
Well, perfect.
Yeah,
she
give it
has,
a little
she has
Do
Gmail.
that, and I'm gonna try to follow up with some
Apple.
lead for cities and lead for homes.
Google, yeah, exactly, that's the answer.
But all else fails,